Good morning, students. We have one day break in these videos for sending videos. That is only because of to give you some relief from the videos. I have given some one day break, and now again welcome back to the lesson classification of living organisms. In this diversity of living organisms lesson, we have discussed about all the four kingdoms: kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Mycota, as well as the kingdom Plantae. Today, the most highest, very largest kingdom we are going to discuss about. That is the classification of animals. Classification of animals. There are nearly 7 millions of animals are there. Different types of animals are there. We know very few of them. Most probably we know the animals, some of them which are presented in our surroundings. Very familiar animals only we know that their names, their habits, their locations. Only these we know very few. But there are so many different types of animals are presented in our surroundings. When you observe, when you are watching this Discovery Channel or National Geographic Channel or Animal Planet, you might be come across a number of animals in the channels. So sometimes you may be getting doubt what type of animals these are, what is the name of them. Until the anchor says the name of the animal, we don't know that. So such type of animals many are there. So all of them are grouped, classified based on their similarities and their differences. So before learning of this classification of animals, some important terms you are come across in this total lesson. It's a huge lesson. You have to pay a lot of concentration on this. So some important terms you will be come across in this classification of animals, and those all the important terms I have written on the board. Okay, important terms. All the important terms I have written on the board. One by one I explain this one by one, this important terms, and then we will discuss about the classification of living these animals. Okay, let us discuss about these important terms. The first one, the vertebrates as well as the invertebrates. The animals which have the backbone. The animals which have the backbone, they are considered the category of vertebrates. The animals which have the backbone, they are considered the category of vertebrates. Vertebrae means the backbone. Instead of notochord, long needle-like structure will be presented in the lower grade animals. Instead of this notochord, it is developed into backbone along with this bony pieces. 32 bony pieces will be arranged. 32 bony pieces will be arranged one above the another, and they hold this notochord. That's also said to be as a spinal cord. The spinal cord and the 32 vertebrae, that bony pieces together called as a backbone. Okay, that backbone, the animals which have such a type of backbone, which is helpful for them making their body straight and bend their body in a different manner. Like sidewards, right side, left side, front side, back side. We can easily bend our body because of this vertebrae. What it is called? Vertebrae. Vertebral column. It is nothing but a combination of 32 bony pieces and spinal cord. 32 bony pieces and spinal cord, that is called as a vertebral column. So the animals which have the vertebral column as a backbone. That means the animals which have the backbone in their body, those are called as vertebrates. Those are all called as vertebrates. Examples for the vertebrates are fishes, frogs, snakes, as well as birds and also human beings. These are all comes under the category of, that means all these vertebrates are classified into 5 groups. That is species, amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals. These are all the 5 groups of animals. Whatever the groups of animals are there in these 5 groups, whatever the animals are there in these 5 groups, those all comes under the category of vertebrates. Okay, next one, invertebrates. The animals which do not have the backbone. Simple. The animals which do not have the backbone, this type of vertebral column is absent in these animals. And these invertebrates are classified into 8 phyla. Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Ascahelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca and Echinodermata. So whatever the organisms are comes under the category of these 8 phyla, those are all said to be as invertebrates because they don't have the backbone. They don't have the backbone. Come to the next one, radially symmetrical. Here, suppose if you take some structures I will give you. Suppose if you take this square 4 sides structure, you can make this one into 2 equal halves. 2 equal halves like this. So, and some other structure I will give you. This is the circle. So, if you draw an axis in this, you can make this circle into many equal halves. So, an organism which can be divided or which can be cut into pieces, equal pieces in a particular axis of all these sides, those are all comes under the category of radially symmetrical. The equal pieces will be formed when you cut an organism in all these sides through a particular axis. That is called radially symmetrical. All the cylindrical organisms like sea anemones, hydra, as well as this jellyfishes, these are all the cylindrical animals which are presented there. Those all comes under the category of radially symmetrical. And come to the next one, bilaterally symmetrical. So, through one axis, an organism can be divided into 2 equal halves. Mirror images will be formed. 2 equal halves will be formed. 2 equal halves from one radius or axis. That is called as bilaterally symmetrical. Human beings are bilaterally symmetrical. Butterflies are bilaterally symmetrical. And earthworms are bilaterally symmetrical. Flatworms are bilaterally symmetrical. Earthworms are radially symmetrical. Roundworms are radially symmetrical. Okay, radially symmetrical means those are always cylindrical in shape. In any axis they will be divided into equal halves. Bilaterally symmetrical means those are in one axis. If you divide them, those will form the mirror images, means 2 equal halves only. That is bilaterally symmetrical. If you take our body from here to one axis, if you draw one line like this, means this is one half, this is another half, both of them are similar. This is the right side and this is the left side. So this is the, if you keep one mirror here, this will become as the left side once again. That means mirror images will be formed in the bilaterally symmetrical animals. Okay, so this is also one of the characteristic to classify the animals. These are all the important things, terms which are written on the board are the characteristics of the various animals that can be helpful for classification of animals. Okay. Next one is intercellular digestion and intracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion, if you take that intracellular digestion, you know the digestion process, the process of converting the complex food materials into simple food materials, that is called as digestion. And this digestion usually occur in the cell body, usually occur in the cell itself. That is called as intracellular digestion. The digestion, the process of digestion which is occur in the within the cell body, that is called intracellular digestion. Intercellular digestion means the digestion which is occurred in between the two cells. That is called intercellular digestion. Okay, that is a different term. Intercellular means between the cells. Intracellular means inside the cell body. That is the very much important thing. Okay. Next one is external fertilization as well as internal fertilization. First of all, fertilization means almost all the animals will be possessing the sexual reproduction. So sexual organs are presented in the animal's body, and they release the gametes, sex cells. Gametes are also called as sex cells, and these are of two types, male and the female. So this male gamete and female gamete will be combined together. The combination of, otherwise you can say, fusion of male gamete with the female gamete. Listen, fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is called as fertilization. It's a process of fusion of male gamete with the female gamete and producing fertilized egg called as zygote. This total phenomena is called as fertilization. And fertilization is very, very common procedure in the sexual reproduction. Okay. So, if this fertilization is occur outside the female body is called external fertilization. Outside the female body means usually the external fertilization will be occur in the water. Usually the external fertilization will be occur in the water. So the male organism will release the sperm into the water, and female organism will release the ova into the water, and these two will be fusing together inside the water. That means this fertilization, the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is occurring in the water, not in the female body. It is occur outside the female body. So it is called as external fertilization. The animals like fishes, frogs will show the external fertilization. Their fertilization will be occur outside the female body. Okay. And next one is internal fertilization. So this is common opposite to the external fertilization. The fertilization which is occur inside the female body. At the time of sexual reproduction, the male organism release the sperm into the female body. And the fertilization will be occur inside the female body. So it is called as internal fertilization. Snakes, that means reptiles, apes as well as the mammals, these all the organisms show internal fertilization. Species and amphibians will show that external fertilization. Okay, simple. Fishes, frogs, external fertilization. Snakes, birds, as well as human beings show the internal fertilization. Okay, that means the animals that are belong to the species group, amphibians group will show the external fertilization. The animals which are belong to the reptiles category, aves category and mammals category, they show the internal fertilization. Okay, so this is also one of the best characteristic to classify the animals. Next one, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Already you know that respiration, intaking of oxygen, leaving out of carbon dioxide is called as a respiration. Simply we can say that. But it's not the respiration, remember, it is called breathing. Respiration means it's a phenomena of converting the digested food material into energy in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, that is called as a respiration. And it is of two types. The respiration which is occur in the presence of oxygen, the respiration which is occur in the absence of oxygen. Both are different types of respirations. The respiration which is occur in the absence of, in the presence of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. The respiration which is occur in the presence of oxygen is called as aerobic respiration. Almost all the organisms, including the plants, almost all the organisms can show or can possess this aerobic respiration, and in this aerobic respiration large amount of energy will be produced. Nearly 38 ATP molecules of energy will be produced in the aerobic respiration. 38 ATP molecules means almost you can say that 673 kilocalories of energy will be produced from one molecule of glucose. From one molecule of glucose, nearly 673 kilocalories of energy will be produced during the aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is nothing but is a respiration which is occur in the presence of oxygen. Except some bacteria, remaining all will show the aerobic respiration. Some bacteria and some of the muscles of the animals will show the another type of respiration, and remaining all will show this aerobic respiration. Okay, come to the next one, anaerobic respiration. The respiration which is occur in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, this is called as anaerobic respiration. The respiration which is occur in the absence of oxygen, that is called as anaerobic respiration, and in this only 2 ATP molecules will be produced. 2 ATP molecules means it's almost 50 kilocalories. Very less amount of energy will be produced here. Okay, understand now? So that's why only some of the bacteria and the muscles of the animals will show the anaerobic respiration. It is occur in the absence of oxygen. Okay, it is also one of the characteristics for the classification of the animals. Next one is hermaphrodites. Hermaphrodites, it's belong to the type of the animal, the sex of the animal. Like all the animals are classified into two types: unisexual animals and the bisexual animals. Unisexual animals means the animals which have the only one type of sex, either male or female. If the animal is having the male sexual organs in its body, it is a male organism. If the animal is having the female sexual organs in the body, that is a female organism. So the sexual dimorphism will be shown in the particular organism. Males are different and females are different. Such type of animals are called as unisexual animals. They show the sexual dimorphism. Sexual dimorphism means the sexual parts will be separated. Male sexual parts are separate and female sexual parts are separate. So the animals also separate. But whereas the hermaphrodites, that means bisexual animals. The animals which have both male sexual organs as well as the female sexual organs in one organism only. I repeat, bisexual animals means the animals which have the male sexual organs as well as the female sexual organs also presented in only one organism. Such type of animals are called as bisexual animals or hermaphrodites. Earthworms are the best example for bisexual animals or hermaphrodites. This is also one of the important characteristics for the classification of animals. Next, come to the homeothermic animals, poikilothermic animals. So the animals which can maintain their body temperature constantly irrespective of environmental temperature. The animals which can maintain the body temperature constantly irrespective of environmental temperature. It means that whatever the environmental temperature it is, but the animal's temperature is, body temperature will be constant. Suppose if you take the human beings, our body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. This is our body temperature, human beings temperature. So whether it is a winter season, rainy season, summer season, winter season it will be low temperature in the environment, summer season it will be high temperature in the environment, rainy season it will be normal temperature in the environment, sometimes it will be higher, sometimes it will be lower in the rainy season. Even though whatever the temperature is there in the environmental conditions, even though our body temperature is never changed, never be changed our body temperature. We maintain our body temperature constantly. So, the animals which maintain their body temperature constantly irrespective of environmental conditions are called as homeothermic animals. Homeothermic animals are also called as warm-blooded animals. Homeothermic animals are also called as warm-blooded animals. Once again I repeat this one, this is very important. Homeothermic animals, the animals that maintain their body temperature constantly irrespective of environmental temperature, those animals are called as homeothermic animals, and those homeothermic animals are also called as warm-blooded animals. And just opposite to this one, poikilothermic animals, the animals which cannot maintain their body temperature constantly and changes according to the environmental temperature. That means, see, suppose in the winter season the environmental temperature is very much low, but the animal's body temperature will be increases to cope up with the environmental conditions. And in the summer season, the environmental temperature is very much higher, the animal's body temperature will be lower to cope up with the summer season. So, according to the environmental conditions, the animal's body temperature will be changed. They do not maintain constant body temperature. Such type of animals are called as poikilothermic animals. Poikilothermic animals. And these poikilothermic animals are also called as cold-blooded animals. Poikilothermic animals are also called as cold-blooded animals. This is also one of the best characteristics to classify the animals. Once again I repeat, the animals which can maintain their body temperature constantly irrespective of environmental temperature are called as homeothermic animals, and those homeothermic animals are also known as warm-blooded animals, whereas the animals which cannot maintain their body temperature constantly, and they change their body temperature according to the environmental conditions. Such type of animals are called as poikilothermic animals, and these animals are also called as cold-blooded animals. Okay, come to the next one, estivation, hibernation. There are some animals like frogs. Usually frogs lives in burrows. Actually, frogs are amphibians, means they can live in the water as well as they can live on the land, but they use the water for their reproduction. Okay, so that's why in the rainy season we see the many frogs in our surrounding, and they will be croaking. That sound will become back. That is croaking sound will be given by the frogs. That we can see only in the rainy season. Number of frogs will be there, and we will be wonder in the summer season, in the winter season, where they are going. We cannot find much number of frogs in the summer season as well as in the winter season. Okay, so what happened to the frogs in those two seasons? Only in the rainy season they are appear, because rainy season plenty of water will be available, and that water is used by the frog for their reproduction, and the croaking sound will be given by the frog, so it will attract the opposite gender. Remember this, all the frogs which are croaking, which are giving the croaking sound, back, those are all male frogs. Those are all male frogs, and they are attracting the female frog for the reproduction. Okay, only in the summer season and winter season where they are going, we will be wonder where they are going. They are not going anywhere. In the summer, suppose if you take the summer season, the total 3 months, the 4 months of the summer season, those will be present because of the top range of atmospheric heat, temperature. Those will be presented inside the soil, under the soil. They will be taking the burrows, and inside the burrows those will be presented. Because outside temperature is very much high, when they are entering to the inside the burrows, so that will be very cool for them. So they will be sleeping continuously for the 4 months. Remember, it is wonder, they never come out from the burrow for the food also. Then you will be asking a question, how they will live, sir, without taking food? Yes, that only I am going to tell you. So the sleeping continuously for the 4 months of the summer season, not even coming for the food by these frogs, the amphibians, is called estivation, summer sleep. Estivation means what here? Summer sleep. The total 4 months of the summer, they will be sleeping continuously. And the fat what is presented in their body, that will be react with oxygen. That means oxidation of the fat will be taking place in the body, and energy is produced. Aerobic respiration will be taking place. Energy will be produced for the frog for living, not for doing any work. It means the fat, the energy which is released by the fat, it is useful for the organism to live, not for doing work. So basing on this, the frogs or the amphibians will be sleeping continuously the 4 months of the summer season. This is called as estivation, or we can say summer sleep. The same thing will be repeated in the winter season also. In the winter season, the temperature is very much cool. That's why they will go to the burrows. So the temperature will be higher in the inside the soil. So there they will be sleeping for the 4 months of the winter season, and that is called as hibernation, winter sleep. Hibernation means winter sleep, estivation means summer sleep. In both the conditions, fat of the animal will play an important role in the producing of energy and save the life of the organism. Okay, this is also one of the characters to classify the animals. Next one, pneumatic bones. The bones which are very much lighter, hollow and filled with air. The bones which are very much lighter, hollow and filled with air, those are called as pneumatic bones. Usually the birds are having the pneumatic bones in their wings. So the bones which are presented in these wings, those are light in weight, hollow. Hollow means nothing is presented inside the bones, and filled with air. Filled with air, so that when they are waving this wings up and down like this, automatically the bird will be flying. Okay, so the bones which are light in weight, hollow in structure, filled with air, help in the flight. Flight means flying in the air. Those bones are called as pneumatic bones, and these bones are present for the birds only. Okay, so the birds are able to fly from one place to another place. Of course, there are some flightless birds also there, that we will discuss in the next video while discussing about the classification of the animals. Okay, what the reason why some birds cannot fly, that is also I will tell you, I will explain. Okay, next one is oviparous and viviparous. Oviparous animals, the animals which lay the eggs, egg laying animals are called as oviparous animals. And viviparous animals means the animals which give birth to their young ones and feed them with their milk. Those are called as viviparous animals. Again, oviparous animals means the animals which lay the eggs. Okay, like birds, snakes, frogs, fishes, so these all comes under the category of oviparous animals. They lay the eggs, and furtherly eggs are developed into young ones. Whereas some animals like mammals, they give birth to their young ones directly. The egg will be developed in the female body into baby, and the baby will be given birth. Come out from the mother womb, and that is childbirth will be given direct birth will be given to the young ones. That is called as viviparous animals. And some animals are there, those are all called as oviviparous animals. That means they lay the eggs. After the eggs are developed into baby, they feed them with their milk. Those are called as oviviparous animals. Egg laying mammals. Those are all, what are the examples of these one, and those are all we will discuss in the next lessons actually. Okay, next that topic about the classification of animals. Okay, next one is the diploblastic animals and triploblastic animals. This is very important. Every animal is having the 3 germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. 3 germ layers. So the animals which are having the ectoderm and endoderm, those are called diploblastic animals. The animals which are having in their body only 2 layers. One is ectoderm, outer layer is called as ectoderm, innermost layer is called as endoderm. Only these 2 layers are present, means that is the diploblastic animal. And the animals which are having the 3 layers in it, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Outermost layer is called as ectoderm, innermost layer is called as endoderm. In between these two layers, one more layer is there, that is called as mesoderm. And almost all the organs of the body are derived from only these three layers. Okay, so if the animals are having these three layers in their body, those are called as triploplastic animals. These are the some of the important terms that are help in the classification of animals, and some more terms any comes in between the lessons, I will explain you at that time. And next video we are going to discuss about the classification of animals. See this video once or twice or thrice. Understand the definitions what I gave you for about these terms. If possible, write in your running notes all the terms, the definition of the terms. All the definitions of the terms you have to write in the running notes compulsory. Daily for 3 you write down, no problem, 3, 4 like that. All at a time no need, but watch the video very clearly, very keenly, perfectly, compulsorily, and understand the terms and the definitions. Okay, I request you that you write down all these terms in your running notes and with the definitions, Okay, any doubts, you send the message to my personal number. Thank you very much.